There are many little reasons why we wanted to do the festival. Number one, we grew up in this town. Tallinn was the place we studied and, did everyday work. Pärnu was the holiday place, the place where we spent our summers. My grandmother is from here. We spent 3 months every year, and it somehow becomes the most dear place to us. When we came back to Estonia and Estonia became free again, it was obvious it has to be here, because festival also has to be in a place that has other attractive qualities. One thing is music, but other thing is also vacation. And you have, even during the Soviet time, this was the favorite spa or a summer vacation time for a lot of Soviet intelligentsia. Like, for example, Oistrakh and Shostakovich and Rostropovich and all the great Soviet Russian liked to spend time here for two reasons. One of them, Estonia was closer to the civilized world. Finland, Sweden, it's a kind of a gateway. It has always been a gateway to Europe. And that's why Russians always wanted to have the access here.
Let's say Pärnu is the official city of, official summer capital of Estonia. And the Pärnu Music Festival has become one of the very brightest highlights of the whole summer in Estonia. The vibe which is around this festival is incredible. People are traveling from other side of the world to see this, and Pärnu is a really welcoming city for that.
It's funny, it never takes time to warm up to Pärnu for me. I mean, you just come straight back in as if you've never left, and as if we work together all the time, even though you might not see people for a year. I think a lot comes from the place, from Pärnu itself. It's so beautiful, and it's kind of like your dream holiday destination, but we're lucky enough to come and work here.
The Pärnu Music Festival and the Arvo Pärt Center work together. We've been collaborating for many years. The Arvo Pärt Center is really an educational institution. When it comes to the Pärnu Music Festival, I think the competency and the experience of the Järvi family in conducting music leadership, programming and guiding is immense, and this cannot be understated.
The festival originally came to being as an educational project, if you can say so. We wanted to have a conductors masterclasses and conductors academy. I wasn't even so interested in having concerts, frankly.
The festival, it grew from the Järvi Academy. We had academy masterclasses with Neeme Järvi and PaavoJärvi. We already had also a certain amount of concerts. Then everybody felt that it's already a festival without naming it like that. That time, a lot of Estonian players were studying abroad, working abroad, but not coming together here. I went to Paavo to introduce the idea of festival orchestra, and he had actually exactly the same idea.
So, okay, let's do a festival orchestra, but if we do a festival orchestra, let's try to find the really interesting people and most important talent in Estonia and also outside. So I handpick everybody, and really, I don't even call them an orchestra, it's a group of enthusiasts.
Again, one of the cornerstones have been from beginning that we are trying to achieve here some kind of family atmosphere, also between the musicians.
The heart of the orchestra has always been the same since it started, I think. It's just the nicest vibe and the most supportive colleagues, but the level is extremely high. It's really the best players from all over the world. And whilst it feels the same, it also feels really, really elevated now, 10 years on.
There are always new members in the orchestra, but they are immediately welcomed as part of the family. I think the most important criteria for coming here and to play is just to be really open to ideas, really open to propose your own ideas and to receive and make something even bigger and nicer out of these.
In some way, I also don't want to make it too big. I like the relationships between musicians. Most of the wonderful players of my orchestras and orchestras that I guest conduct, the ones who have some spark in their eyes, I invite here so that they become members of this summer happening.
I think the most wonderful thing about Paavo is his ability to take the best out of you and take it and give it to others to even more process and make the best out of it.
As a wind player, you always have quite a direct connection with a conductor because you're always playing your own parts. The extraordinary thing with Paavo is that he just trusts us totally and really lets us be creative and be free on stage.
Well, it's the 15th year, so it really is a kind of a landmark or a milestone, I would say. The fact that it is Arvo Pärt's 90th birthday focuses everything very nicely into a one celebrative festival. Nobody's quite as special for us Estonians as Arvo Pärt, because he's really somebody who has become an icon in classical music in Estonia, but also worldwide.
I think that the connection to Pärnu is very interesting just because wherever my father's music is played is where it is present. And here in Pärnu today it is present.
I have heard Arvo Pärt's music since I was born, actually, because he was a very close friend to my parents. My father was the music director of the Estonian National Orchestra and also the opera and also the chamber orchestra. So he did a lot of Arvo Pärt recordings and premieres.
Arvo Pärt is known for his spiritual works, but actually he has composed a lot of children's songs. Probably the first time I was probably singing one of his children's songs, so I can't even remember.
My first time I played Arvo Pärt's music was in my first job in the radio orchestra in Wales, and that memory will stick with me forever, him able to communicate his music to people.
Well, Arvo's music does cover the globe, and it's a really happy case study, I guess, where one can wonder why that is the case. Why is it that his music is listened throughout the world, where it goes beyond the boundaries of geographical boundaries, or linguistical boundaries, or cultural boundaries, or religious boundaries? There is something inside the music that touches you, tensions that are carried over time in the piece of music that also make my father's music very usable for film and ballet.
It's really interesting with his music because you can see it on a page and it can look quite simple, especially the later works. It puts you into almost a trance or something. It has a very strange effect on me, actually. Every time I'm playing one of his pieces, I kind of forget where I am and what I'm doing. As a wind player, actually, I mean, the string playing equivalent is that they need to have very still, very long bows, and we need to have bucketfuls of air in our lungs because he writes really beautiful long lines and you're desperate not to disturb them. So a lot of it is about filling up with air and trying to get the stillness that he needs for his music to really speak to people.
During Soviet times and all of this stuff, you know, all of this religion, everything was kind of banned. But in fact, he didn't start to write religious music because he was overly, you know, wanting to somehow create a religious theme for people. No, it's actually because in there lies a purity, you know. In fact, that is the purity that became his whole credo.
Every scale has a pivot point, and the pivot point for my father's life's work is Credo. And what we really see is that after Credo, the approach changed for him to search for his own musical language.
I don't remember when it happened because I was 6 years old. It was one of the pieces that my father premiered, and then it was immediately banned. Somehow my father decided and managed to do it second time, and then it became a real scandal because it was an open gesture of defiance. What does credo mean? Credo means I believe, but one can take it in a very religious and very strictly religious context, but of course even the religion in the Soviet time was a form of protest because it was forbidden. This credo and the words of the universal truth as opposed to the truth that you hear from the propaganda of communists was really the main issue there. In this particular case, of course, there was a religious text, so that was pretty obvious. But it was also a gesture from Arvo Pärt, who knew very well that it is not going to end well. A lot of the silent protests or subtle protests were possible through music and through arts. Music is in some way the best way to really say what you feel without somebody really being able to be too concrete about what's wrong. After this piece, for Arvo Pärt, after Credo, everything changed. This is the kind of a last draw before he withdrew, and there was many people thought he will never write again. But it was, now we know it's a kind of a creative silence where he basically, he has talked to me about it. He's talked to me and said, why do we need so much noise? But by noise, he doesn't mean just noisy people or noisy loud volume. By noise, he means everything that is just fake, insincere, every sound that is pure, beautiful, honest, it's enough. It's enough. You can have a lot of words which are empty and in fact polluting our brains and our world.
One shouldn't forget that when one was emigrating from Soviet Estonia to the West, that you were emigrating. Emigrating means that you leave and never to return. So that was what was in our minds, in my parents' minds. So there is a different reality that a new tangent that develops where you grow up in Germany and you make things work. So when it comes to your identity, you just make things work day by day. I think the question is, every piece has a message, and how does this message reach the audience? And in 1968, it was unbelievable that something like that could have been performed, and it went through the censorships, and people didn't know what hit them. In the 80s and 90s, it was much more of an analytical process, whereas today we come back to trying to understand more the meaning behind this.
As a festival headline, you know, Credo, I believe. I don't, for me, it's not a religious thing, but we believe in music, we believe in enlightenment, in love, all the things that are universal truth. And that's why this particular piece, it can be understood in different ways. For me, Credo is there for reasons that are more than musical, even though I think it's really a fantastic piece. It still works, and it's so powerful, and it's so somehow shocking still to this day. But all the other pieces, with the exception of Cantus in memory of Benjamin Britten and Fratres, which I have recorded before, all the other pieces I'm doing it for the first time. On the record. I've done it many, many times in concert, but on the record for the first time. And they are pieces that I find particularly close to me in the later period of Arvo Pärt. You know, he has had this very avant-garde period, then it was a silence, then came Timti Nabuli. And the later period, there is something oddly romantic. Not very outward, but it is still a little different. So these three periods are well represented. And these are all the pieces that I somehow have been connecting with over the period of years.
This year we are celebrating really Estonia, you know, in all of its glory, through the music of somebody who has capacity just to be himself, actually. Arvo Pärt's achievement is to be Arvo Pärt, you know, and that's actually something we all as Estonians kind of strive to achieve, you know.
Arvo Pärt has been an important role of our musical life and also in cultural life. When he came back to Estonia, his role were more and more important. We can say that Arvo Pärt music definitely is one of the things which have made Estonia bigger and the Estonia identity more known.
When you have a small country and a small nation, the entire thinking of that culture is drastically different from the large established cultures like French or Italian or German. Even places like Sweden or Finland or Norway, that was all considered sort of off the map. But the thing is, there are proud nations with a long history and long traditions of language and also writing. It's just that they're not noticed. And they're not noticed because in the global picture, they're too small. So when you have somebody who is able to come up and really becomes in a serious contender on the world stage, so to speak, it gives enormous self-confidence and enormous pride, and it becomes so much more than music. It becomes like a symbol of that I also can do it. We can also do it. And that's already priceless, actually.
I find it really inspiring coming to Estonia to play. So it's really the size of one of our cities in the UK. But culture is everything to them. And the investment and the passion and the national pride about it is amazing and is what we should all be aiming for, really.
I believe that it's the same with a big music festival. that we can spread the word that it's something interesting going on here. We are adding a value to the European or world cultural life. The core element of the festival have been always the network, and I think this is also one thing which adds to our country's cultural identity.
One wonderful thing this festival has done for us is that it gave us roots and connections like mushroom, below the ground. The wonderful networking which has happened here.
The real value of a conductor really is to facilitate the creators and the composers, and also help and to be the architects of the next generation, architect of the projects that will help to create a stronger and a better musical environment. I see my job really more as a facilitator of composers and young conductors and young musicians who I can help. Because at one point, somebody helped me. Everybody needs somebody to open the door a little bit, and it's my turn now.